Hey, what's up, guys? We're getting close to the end of the day here. We're going to work a little late tonight, get some extra stuff done. The big 12-foot slide, the exterior is almost done. We found it yesterday. Hold still, Noah, and I'll just bring it over. We missed something on tear out, and it's my fault for not writing it down, but this piece was bent when it got here. It's cracked on the back side, and it's a piece of the corner that goes on, it goes on this side right here. So we're spending all this time and energy, and Jordan's spending all the money. There's no way we're going to put a crooked piece back. So I had a day yesterday. We chased down fasteners, and yesterday turned into a day. And when Stacy got back from doing her errands, I was looking for the corner piece. I couldn't find it, and 20 minutes later, she found it and said, here. So she's got it on the way. Gotta love the wife. But anyway, we're really close to getting this thing to the point that we're going to spray the polyurea on these faces. So back here is the front or the outside of the camper. This is a wall. The front of it the inside of it goes here. And I've got this small slide sitting next to it so I can start to explain some of what we're doing and why. Jordan did not want windows on the ends of this slide. This is more of a utility slide for him. He's going to set a desk up in front of the big window that's still there. This is all just heat loss, energy, comfort. And so we're going to have a nice smooth finish right here. We didn't take a lot of pictures when we tore the first one down, and I wanted to both of these are built the same way. So Noah's taking some pictures, and he's going to show you how we're finishing the inside. I've already talked about it. You've seen the styrofoam, but we're going to run over it again. This is what the inside, we just tore this apart 20 minutes ago. This is what the inside of a slide looks like. It's fiberglass insulation, some bugs that have gotten in through some openings that were going on, and it's only 1.5 inches. If you Google what the R value is of 1.5 inches fiberglass insulation, it's basically nothing. When you get it wet, it's less than nothing. So that's what's been hanging out inside of here. So when your walls are sweating in the wintertime, this is it, folks. You can take this, it's maybe an R2, 1.5 inches rigid styrofoam is 7.5. Add another inch on top of that, now you're past 10, and 2 inches of rigid styrofoam does not sweat. I mean, you've got to be like 100 inside and 0 outside with crazy humidities. You can do it, but it takes a lot. So that's the whole objective. That's, again, insulation's the name of the game. When they're building them at the factory, they don't really care about insulation. They care about your cash, and they care about sending them out the door. This is a little lighter than rigid styrofoam, but again, the weight cost is not enough to not justify going back with rigid. Plus, it makes a lot more solid structure. This foam actually starts to take on some structure because it's in this whole cavity. So if the frame is trying to twist a little bit, it's twisting up against the styrofoam. The styrofoam's not going to move because it's glued on this face, it's glued on the outside face. So this whole panel becomes a thing, and it's not just the aluminum with this, I think you call that cardboard. You call it cardboard in my book. But this is when you get into some interesting stuff. You can open these things up, and you can see where the water came from. In this wall, the water, you got it, Noah? The wall set like this, and the water was coming in from the corners. If Noah took some pictures, he's going to insert those in. But if you look at this transition, there's maybe 3/8 of an inch of TPO underneath this channel right here. This is technically inside. When the wiper seals are in, when the slide is out, the wiper seals are here. This is technically inside, but it's going to have an issue. Obviously, you can see what's going on, and it must be Christmas time. I keep getting spam calls, good grief. Anyway, the leaks start on the corners. This is the outside, so this is the business end, and he took some more pictures of this. I keep talking about transitions. Every time you transition from TPO to filling, you've got to have some kind of a transition piece. There was a piece of metal here holding all of this down. They've got some butyl that's hardened up. It's falling off. That's what's trying to keep the moisture out. This thing's a 2009, so sure, it's old, but has it lost its life? The only thing that's failed, the aluminum hasn't failed. Technically, the filling hasn't failed. What fails is the transition pieces and all of the different materials that they use. The butyl fails, the caulk fails, and then you end up with all this water. And once this is in here, it gets inside of here, it starts to cause rot. It won't dry out. The fiberglass insulation loses all of its insulation value as soon as it gets wet. So even moisture that's traveling between the inside wall and the outside wall, the moisture's moving in here, but it comes and it gets into this wall and it hangs out in this insulation. So the more moisture that's inside the insulation, the less R value you get, and it just turns into this vicious circle that keeps going and going and going. What we're trying to do is slow all of that down. We get into places like this. This is a support structure. There's cabinets inside here. There's even less insulation right here. You can do a lot of things to fix that, but it's all inside construction. We'll show it as we go. When we spray, I'm going to move back over here. When we spray this, we're going to have our corner pieces here. There'll be a corner piece right here. I'm going to grab that, hang tight, Noah. When this corner piece goes back in, before we spray anything, it's going to set right in here like this. It's too short. We're actually going to put a bead of seam sealer in here. The seam sealer stays flexible. Our polyurea bonds to seam sealer. So you're going to have aluminum, seam sealer, polyurea, and then on the outside where we stop our polyurea onto this aluminum, we're actually going to run another layer of seam sealer on the outside. So instead of butyl and some screws, we're going to have seam sealer, aluminum, polyurea, seam sealer. If it gets past that, it can have it. And then on the top right here, I'm going to have Noah hang loose. On the top of the slide right here, there's a strip that runs right along here. You can go out and look in your camper, and there's a strip right here. That strip is doing nothing but holding the TPO to the side. There's a butyl right here. I've seen people caulk up here. I've seen people caulk underneath, and basically the only thing that strip is doing is trying to hang on to the TPO long enough for it not to leak. Well, it doesn't work. That sits up there like this. What we're going to do, no, we forgot. Let's take a picture of the top up here. Where this wall comes up and meets the roof, there's a gap right now. We're going to add seam sealer into this gap. Again, that stays flexible. The seam sealer bridges, so when we spray our polyurea, it's going to stick to that. It's flexible underneath, and there's no transition. The polyurea is one piece. Hang on just a second. I'm going to keep adding props to this thing. This is a sample piece that got sprayed on our camper. But this is polyurea. This thing sits here like this. This is flexible. It's actually been outside, so it has gotten pretty cold, but there's no failure point in this stuff. It's not breaking or anything, and that is what's going to be sprayed right here. There's no place for water to get into because there's no seam. It's all one piece. The seam is going to be underneath the polyurea. Seam sealer sticks to polyurea, so when it all comes together from the other side at the bottom, all the way up, all the way across, and all the way back down, and then actually all the way underneath too, we're going to spray this thing. We're going to lay it on its back. We're going to come in here and we're going to bring our tape line clear into the inside, we've got some seam sealer that's going to go into this edge right here. So when we spray this, we're going to wrap it, and we're going to wrap it clear into the inside. And so this is inside the camper, and the point is to keep any kind of leak, moisture. If moisture comes in and it gets past the seals, and it comes in and it gets into this corner, it's still polyurea, it's still seam sealer. And once it's all done, there's nothing, if it runs down the face, it'll run down, there's a board that sits here. If it runs down the inside, it's still in polyurea. And the inside is still protected, the inside wall is still protected, and that's the point, the reason that we're building these things this way. I haven't found anybody doing it this way. I'm going to keep showing it. The reason I'm showing a lot of this, and we've still got a slide video that we're putting together. This is going to be a separate video on how to bolt these things together, but you guys can do this. If you've got a good DIY background, you can take the slide out, you can rebuild it in your time. This thing would fit, it's 12 feet long, so probably a trailer, but you could wrap this thing up in a tarp, strap it down to a flatbed, bring it to the shop. We could prep it and spray it the same day. And you're gonna save a huge amount of money if the only thing we're doing is spraying this thing and we're not spending all the time building all this stuff. You know, there's a big spray rig sitting over there. There's really expensive chemical. There's all these techniques, the techniques to spray the stuff and all that. Let us be the pros at the spray and let you guys reconstruct these things, and everybody wins. But we're getting close. This is really, really close to being done. We're gonna jam this thing out as quick as we can, because we're gonna take this slide, and the camper roof that we have outside. We're gonna tear the camper roof down, get it ready to spray polyurea, and then we're gonna have a party. About a day and a half worth of spraying and prepping and doing all that stuff. But that's the plan. We're getting really close to that. We're kind of leading up to it, but that's what we're gonna do. I think I've rambled on. Have I missed anything? Rambled on long enough. We're gonna keep going on this thing. I hope this is helping explain the process. I hope this explains, oh, he's taken some pictures. I talked in yesterday's video about us bolting the walls to the floor. This is the floor. We just tore this apart. There's a screw right here, and there's a screw right here. That's the only thing holding this in. This is inside the camper, so this screw really isn't doing anything to hold it together. This screw right here is close enough to this outer slide beam that it's not really doing anything. If you've got any kind of give right here, if you've got something heavy or if somebody stands on it, you've got a big friend that stands on this thing and it sags a little bit, the way it's constructed right now, it'll pull at the bottom and boom, you got a leak hanging out right here. That's what happened in this. Something happened in the bottom of this. This one, all of the moisture was coming down from the top and going to the bottom. But anyway, I hope that makes sense. If you've got questions or anything like that, throw them in the comments. Hit the subscribe button. Subscriptions keep going up, and we appreciate that. It helps the shop, and we're all in this together. So we're trying to put some information out there, help you guys out. Obviously, the more business we get, that helps us out, and everybody wins. So I'm going to stop rambling. Noah and I are going to get jamming on this thing, and we'll talk to you soon. Later, guys.